Darren Seary, RMOD, previously with Fulcrum. We met at World of Modular, Orlando 2020, right before COVID. And between now and then, you made the switch to RMOD. Let's hop into it.
Yeah, well, it was, tough decision, but in some ways, in terms of moving on from a company after 15 years, but I got to know RMOD, got to know the people there, and they got to know me. And when they, gave me the opportunity to come on board, it was an easy decision in terms of joining RMOD, in terms of just being so well aligned with what I believe to be best practices in the modular world. So I'm excited to be on board.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you on board. I mean, you've been around this industry, like I said, for quite some time. RMOD decided to get into modular construction. Why? I mean, they were doing so many other beautiful things. Why modular construction? And let's hop into that why, and then let's talk about facilities that you guys are currently working on.
Yeah. So the backstory. So Relevant Group is a big hospitality, high-end hospitality, nightlife developer based in Hollywood, with projects Hollywood, LA area, and they looked at purchasing the Barclay Hotel downtown LA and the Morrison Hotel downtown. They had SROs, the Section 8 covenants on there, so we had to replace those units, affordable units, in order to be able to redevelop them. So we looked obviously into the entitlement side of affordable housing, the permanent supportive housing. There's some very good incentives out there in terms of the construction side, in terms of less parking or no parking. You can go higher, greater density. There's a lot of incentives there, and more of an expeditious permit review process too. So that played a big part into looking at the affordable housing market and thinking, well, this could pencil very well. So Relevant Living was created, and then from there, looking at how you can build repetitively with that type of product most cost effectively. Clearly, we had to explore modular construction, and because we can go higher, we need to go, we looked at steel, and steel is really the way we need to go. We can go a lot higher, so we need to minimize the amount of work on site. We don't want to build in extra podium levels and on-site units, especially at prevailing wages rates. We need to go, without the parking, we can go 7 stories or 8 stories of modular, for instance, over one level of podium, which is great for us. So looking around the industry, we were looking at various steel options, domestically and overseas, but ultimately landed with the decision to create RMOD and build our facility, which we'll be getting the core and shell handed over to us next month in Tijuana, Mexico. So that's only a stone's throw from the San Diego market, the LA market, and ground transportation as well to the Bay Area. So 3 very good markets to serve.
So, I mean, with that said, so next month, will you start running things down your line next month? Is that the goal?
No, we get the shell. We have to start the TI. So that's all planned out. We've got everything dialed in. That's not to say we're going to keep looking at better ways of doing things, but we have the core of the concept. We have 2 lines to build. So Q1 is when we start really starting to roll out some product. Really Q2 to be fully into that. And we're taking a very, very conservative approach. We're only looking at, in terms of our maximum output, we're only looking at about 6% next year, because obviously we'll be starting late and working through the kinks. And then we're ramping up, but we're not overcommitting and and stand a chance of underachieving. So we're setting ourselves up for success in that regard.
Sure. So, I mean, with that though, you guys have a lot of your own projects that you're currently working on. We're going to show some of those projects here in a few moments. And I think, for you guys, it's just perfect, right? Because you have the opportunity to work out the kink on your own product before you roll it out, on a bigger scale to anybody else who wants to build with you. So Tell us a little bit about like the relevant group and because there's two companies here. It's RMOD and then the relevant group. They're one company, but two separate divisions.
Yeah, well, we've got the relevant group with its hospitality development arm, and then relevant living is the multifamily development arm. And then it's interesting that relevant living will rely on RMOD to provide the cost-effective solution that they need. And similarly, RMOD will be the recipients of, I think we've got 1,350 apartment units to build out for relevant living, and more to come. So so it's a great business model.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, we're having a little hiccup on our LinkedIn live feed, but we are live on YouTube and Facebook. And with Darren Seary, VP of Modular Operations at RMOD, we're going to hop into everything that Darren is seeing out there in the industry. And he's seen it from not only the manufacturing side, but you've seen it from the financial side as well, and the consulting side and the project management side, right? Because that was all kind of tied in there with your previous past. And I think this is going to be a really, really interesting thing. So we can't help what's going on with LinkedIn Live, but we can keep sharing what we're doing. And there's a lot of people chiming in. So let's hop into the meat and potatoes of this, Darren. One of the things that you mentioned that we should talk about is addressing modular inertia. What does that mean to you?
What it means is that why is it not moving? Why is there a reluctance to move more towards modular construction? And there's some things to work on. There's some challenges. There's nothing that we can't work through, and we are hitting some of these challenges. Even at RMOD, we're going to be hitting some of these challenges head on and resolving them. The developer. Developers like to see a track record. They like to see things being figured out. I sat on an affordable housing panel earlier this year, pre-COVID, and there was a very prominent developer there, multifamily, and they said we'd be all in, but we need to get it figured out first. And we believe, figured it out, and we're rolling it out. But ultimately, there's been a few challenges in terms of pricing. I know you've talked about it on your show before. There are the general contractors and subcontractors, because they're unfamiliar to how it all works and what you do on site versus off site.
Right.
The pricing, generally what's happened is that a developer will go and get a bid from a modular manufacturer for the modules. And then you obviously have to add on the various transportation and the staging and the set and everything else to that. Then it gets handed over to the general contractor, and if they get the pricing right, great. But if they duplicate any scopes of work, or just price things a little high because they just don't know and they're safeguarding, especially on the subs side of things, then what typically happens is that the price can come in over the conventional side of things. At least the conventional side of things going into a project. We all know that there's always cost escalations and schedule delays, and it never really pencils out as we hope on conventional. And with modular, you have that cost and schedule certainty a lot more. So that's one of those challenges of making it pencil up front. Obviously, as we know, you get to market sooner. You get the benefits on the backside of the project, and there's some big money to be made in terms of revenue, but there is that mentality that's got to pencil up front. And we're fortunate the numbers that we are putting together, when we put together budgets, we've looked at a few projects, although we're not quite ready yet to be taking on major projects that are going to need, from third parties that are going to need us to run down our line in the next year or two. We have looked at some projects with some third parties, and we put together the on-site budget too as part of our team. We have in-house cost estimators. We work with a lot of good GCs that do know it, and we can show how you can actually save money up front, and we do the analysis on the back end too. And then there's the lender challenge as well, which we all know about.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. We know about that. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit further into this. But, with that said, and looking at some of the projects that you guys have been doing, and we should share some of these, but these aren't little projects. These are fairly decent sized mid-rise commercial projects, and they're absolutely beautiful. You want to show a little bit of this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what we're focused on is that low to mid-rise. And when you say mid-rise, I know there's a code requirement that 75 feet or higher, it's high-rise, but we're doing 13, 14 story projects too.
Right.
But we're focused on that market. We don't want to deviate into trying to be different things to different people. We can do this, we can do a bit of hospitality, we can do it that. Our business model is a very repetitive product. We've got modules that are pre-designed, pre-engineered, fit together nicely to form studios, 1s, 2s, 3s. And we have a limited number of those modules. And what that allows us to do is we're going to have our chassis, our frameworks built for us in Tijuana offsite. Okay. So the pre-assembly side of things. And we can actually purchase those in advance, knowing very well their standard sizes. We can pick them as we need them. We can put them on the line, and then we can finish them out. And there's going to be a lot of pre-assembly that goes into our production line as well, and sub-assemblies, so that we can get product moving down the line much quicker. But right. Yeah, I can certainly, we can, sorry, I know you're going to look at the,
no, that's okay.
But,
I
wanted to emphasize that because there's some redundancy that we're building in to our product, but that doesn't mean that the projects themselves need to look very repetitive and boring. So if you want to show those now, I can.
Yeah, let's hop into this.
So now you see on the left-hand side there is Las Palmas, for instance. If you look at that one, I mean, that's a pretty cool modular project.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of the missing middle income market rate mixed use product that Relevant Living is putting together. Obviously, there's affordable housing layered into that, of course. But really, we're looking at, we're working with some, we're talking to a lot of very good architects right now. We are looking to make a statement on some of these projects. We're obviously going to do the permanent supportive housing too, and we can show you one of those in a second. But we do, the Relevant Living brand is definitely about lifestyle. It's about projects that people want to go, they want to live in. The units, they're not necessarily micro units, but they're not high-end market rate units, but they work very, very well, and with a rental income that again appeals to that middle income range. So you're going to see a lot of these types of projects that are going to be a little different than what you'd expect from modular projects.
Right. But I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, they're mid-rise. They're beautiful. It's perfect for modular multifamily use. I mean, for what you guys are doing, especially out of steel with all those big open windows and spans, it's a perfect fit. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and we can, the speed to market again on these things. We're saving. This will be rolling out next year. Las Palmas. We're going to be saving. At least 5 months, anything from upwards of five months of construction time, at least, based on real data that we've obtained from general contractors on if we were to do this conventionally. So it's not just our opinion; we backed it up with hard facts. So you can look at some of those other permanent supportive housing products. We're going to try and make them look a little interesting as much as possible, but obviously functionality is very important, and price point. Some of these are coming in at under 200,000 a key, which is very important in this market, especially when you're talking LA and some of those types of markets.
Right. So on all these projects, these are the projects that are going to go down your line first. And This is what you're basically, as they say, eating your own Jello first, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We've planned, and obviously long before I came on board. But there's been a lot of R&D. I know we're going to talk about that, but there's going to be things that we're going to need to deal with. There's going to be challenges, and by taking a very conservative approach, as I say, 6% of our maximum capacity is what we're targeting for year one. That's the best way, in my opinion, to go about it. We can only do better than that, which is great, but you know, really want to dial things in on that production line. But again, we're looking at a lot of pre-assembly. We're looking at potentially combining all of the aspects of modular construction in terms of volumetric, of course, because that's our main framework. But panelized, pre-assembly, manifolds, bathroom pods, you name it. We're looking at all of those aspects to be assembling to the side of the line or in our separate buildings, and then bringing it in, craning it in, and keeping those modules moving down the line as quickly as possible.
Right. Well, I think that kind of jumps in. I mean, I know we're going to jump around a little bit here from the golden ticket to, you know, fail to plan to fail, which is the R&D part we were talking about. But you did mention this golden ticket. What in general is a golden ticket? And like I said, I found the golden ticket emoji there, so that's about as much as I know.
So the golden ticket, at least from our perspective and from others, is the case study, the successful case study. Everything is going to be built around that. And if you can prove out, as I mentioned, the multifamily developer that, you know, that said once it's figured out, then let's talk type of thing, you know, that needs to happen, and we're going to do that. We're going to create those case studies and show what we save up front, the construction time savings, the quality will be there, and of course the speed to market savings too. So it's really going to come down to the industry, and we can all help with this. I know there's been a lot of successful projects in modular, but just haven't been showcased. And as an industry, we need to help the industry, and we need to make that happen. It's going to help with the financing side of things, because there are a lot of lenders that are interested in modular construction. They're, you know, lenders, typically the big financial institutions, are risk averse and will want to see successful case studies. So the golden ticket is the case study.
I love it. And I love the fact that you said, hey, we're going to share the golden ticket. We're going to share what we've come up with and what the data is showing. And I think that's really that's a powerful thing to say, for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, the industry, we all need to work together in the industry. We're very open book, sharing our ideas, what we're doing. I mean, obviously I've talked about a lot of things that we're doing here today. There's no secret sauce type scenario with us. We want everyone to succeed. As I mentioned when we chatted earlier, I mean, 3.5 million residential units of backlog that will occur by 2025 in California alone, and our business model is factoring in on us taking less than 1% of that number, significantly less than 1% of that number.
Right.
So there's plenty of work to go around. So we're not trying to keep our cards close to our chest and prevent others from succeeding.
Yeah, well, you know what, and my soapbox, and we talked about it before. It's if somebody had the actual golden ticket, the winning Willy Wonka and the Golden Factory ticket on how to do offsite construction, and I mean, then I would understand not sharing. But we're all in this together, and the only way we're going to solve the housing crisis that we're having, the only way we're going to solve offsite construction moving forward is by collaborating with each other. And by collaborating, we're going to do some amazing things as far as building goes, healthy living goes, and providing cost-effective living for people out there that so much need it. You know, they need it. Yeah, we all do.
And it's the collaboration of not just the success stories, but some of the challenges as well. Yeah, we got to see, when I was with Fulcrum, we got to monitor a lot of modular projects, and unfortunately, the same mistakes. You know, especially when we were working on the lender side, when we didn't have much influence on what was going on, that scope is very, once a month type of thing. But we got to see a lot of the same issues occurring on the same on different projects.
Right.
Whereas if we all got together a little bit, and I've kind of toyed with some ideas that maybe some of these big events where everyone's getting together, we have like a side room where everyone just gets together and signs an NDA and just puts it all on the table, and we can all learn from it. So that's really what the industry needs. It's sharing the success stories, but also giving feedback to other manufacturers on some of the challenges we face and how we've overcome them.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love it. All right, let's hop into this. Plan to fail to plan, plan to fail, I think is what we put down here. Let's talk about this, because when you say it, you're saying it around R&D in particular. So let's talk about what you mean here with the fail to plan, plan to fail. Yeah,
I mean, RMOD didn't just come about a month or two ago. It's been around 3 years in the making and planning. The team, obviously long before me being on board, traveled to England to see some manufacturing facilities, to Latvia, to Poland, to China. A lot of time and effort has been put into the R&D side of things. We brought modules over from China. We've got 4 modules on one of our vacant to be developed sites in downtown LA. So that has served as not only kind of a showroom, so to speak. It's also, we've got a 1-bedroom set up there, but they're stacked. So the ground level one is all finished to see the finished product, and the upper one is kind of open. So we've been able to have subcontractors look at it, use it as an educational piece, and stay tuned. We've got another 6 modules in production right now down in Tijuana. We're doing those 6. We're going to bring them up to Hollywood to one of our hotel to be developed hotel sites, and we're going to have that set up as a really cool 1-bed, 2-bed for the Las Palmas project. So the mock-ups for that. But again, we're going to use that for multi-purposes. I mean, the building itself, we're going to have as a showroom, as a place that we can take subcontractors to show what we'd have to do in terms of connect up work and things. Probably likely pre-leasing, but also we're using it as an opportunity to build that out down in Tijuana right now. We obviously we're not going to have the production line running, but we're off to the side will be a static build out of those. But when we do the rough plumbing, we're going to do it, and then we're going to disassemble it all and do it all over again, and do it again, and do it again, and time it, and look at different ways of doing it, and different products, etc. So that's the kind of mentality. So yeah, a lot of planning that goes into this, and we've had lots. So I know you've got ProSet on next Monday. Yeah, the guys Matt and Scott kindly stopped by our office last week. We were for 3 hours. We were thrashing out logistics and connection details and everything else, even at this very early stage. So it's really all about getting things dialed in at an early stage and working through as many issues as you can.
Yeah, for sure. I love the fact that you guys are planning so far in advance and really thinking these things through. I love the idea that you're looking at it, in a vertical way, but also as an assembly line type production process. Yep. And that's what we were talking offline. That's where I think you and Dr. Musson will have a nice conversation. Mm-hmm. He really believes in that process and how that works. So tell us a little bit about this factory. How's it set up? How many square feet is it?
In terms of manufacturing space, we're around 220,000 square feet, 2 lines. We've got over 30 stations. It will be a moving line, as I said, that the chassis itself comes in and is preloaded in, so we're not wasting any time and effort with building that in our facility. So that, but it will run down in threes. Right. They will shift in threes, and obviously our goal is to shift them as quickly as possible. But again, we're thinking through every aspect of it. We know that there's going to be some modules that take longer to do, or they're like stair boxes, they're going to be quicker. So to get that consistency, we're going to be building those modules out in a separate building so that we can create consistency on our production line. And by using, the same products time and time again, that gives us the opportunity to really get it dialed in. And
Right.
And essentially, we want, for instance, we talked about like the MEP. We'll have boxes of kit of everything that we need. We know exactly the length of pipes that we need. We know the number of fittings we need. We know how it all goes together. And our TV screens will have the step-by-step IKEA-esque, guidelines on how to, assemble it all. Right. So that's what we're working.
So say that again. Your TV screen. So at each part of the assembly process, there's going to be a step-by-step, just like going to order a Big Mac. Right, or building a Big Mac at McDonald's, there's a step-by-step process. It's going to help the line workers and the trades know exactly what unit's coming down the line, so they know exactly what the details is for that particular module, as opposed to a book of that many blueprints coming down the line. They're going to have it right in front of them in real time.
Yeah, and then obviously
now you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, and the ability as well to dial into the, should we say, the command center if they've got any questions,
right? And
then utilize technology to be able to throw up some details or some little videos on how it's done or something along those lines. Obviously, there's going to be supervisors and a very experienced MEP folks in there. But the other aspect is, if you look at manufacturing and you go down the road of subcontractors for each station, and I know that's got some advantages and disadvantages. Certainly, if you have problems with your production line, you have gaps, it's easier from a subcontractor perspective. You don't have to pay the subcontractors. But if you have that scenario, and say, for instance, you've got someone who's putting together, pre-assembling some of the electrical pieces, they don't necessarily have to be, they'll be supervised by qualified electrical guys. But if they're through with their pre-assembly, cutting them and fitting certain wires or whatever, they can then go down the line and do some of the painting or do some of the tile work or whatever. There's going to be people that are going to be multi-trained in different aspects. And that's going to help us as well, because you don't want to, not everybody's going to be working at the same speed. And if someone gets ahead, they can help out in another station. So that's part of our model too.
Well, no, I think it's fabulous. That is a true assembly line type mentality. So how do you keep the lines moving and not having the hiccups in the lines, or if somebody gets a little bit slowed down, or there's just so many things that happen on a production line always, right? Yeah. Somebody gets sick and they have to walk off the line. Like, these are things people, you got to take into account for.
Yeah. No, we know there's going to be some challenges. But yeah, the planning is critical, trying to think through everything. I've had the benefit of, I don't know if benefit's the right word, but I've seen a lot of good and I've seen a lot of challenges. Obviously, I'm bringing that experience to RMOD, and unfortunately, I'm asking a whole lot of questions, and the guys have got all the right answers. So I've been very impressed so far.
I love it. Well, you know what? Then that's part of the reason why you're there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yeah. Well, you're not the VP of Modular Operations because you don't have the experience and the knowledge and the background of all this, and that's what's so impressive about you. And I think this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and I love how you guys are going about setting everything up, and the collaboration side of this, the golden ticket side of this, the fail to plan to fail side of this, and now technology on the production line floor. You're making my day, Darren. In fact, you're making me blush. Do I look a little red today?
Well, the R&D part of it as well goes a little bit beyond that. We're going to, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to take on some of the challenges. We're not going to sit back and say, well, there's this issue, I hope it gets resolved. We're taking them on. For instance, me and the team are going to be, and including our architecture team, we've got a good, R&D architecture team in-house. We're going to be going and meeting with some subs on a high-rise LA modular project, and predominantly the MEP trades next week. We're going to learn directly from them what has been your challenges connecting up. Where have you spent the most amount of time? Where can we go and taking this back to the, I was going to say the drawing board, but they don't use that term, to the BIM model. To the computer.
We'll take it back to the computer.
Yeah, there you go. So how can we design that out? How can
Right.
we look at different? And I know you've got some MEP products on your show tomorrow, right? So we're all ears and all eyes to be able to see what's out there.
Yeah.
But that needs to get fed back into the design, and that needs to evolve all the time in terms of R&D. What's happening on the connecting up? How can we design those issues out? Because ultimately we've got to look at pre-assembly as well for on-site scopes, as well as the off-site scopes, and expediting every part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's actually Wednesday. We're going to have kind of a little bit of a product launch on a new MEP system that's all home run. So it'll be really interesting to see what's happening Wednesday, and this is gonna get really broad, I guess, publicly for the first time right here on Dave Cooper Live. So looking forward to that. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the plug. All right, so let's talk about the need for your own supply line. Yeah,
I mean, even on the consulting level, I have something I've been preaching to manufacturers for a while, is that need to have your own production line, supply line. It's gonna, it helps. I mean, for every day that if you've got gaps in your production line, and it's inevitable, unfortunately, something always happens. There's going to be gaps in the production line. That's going to cost you every day to be running your plant, having people, if you are directly employing people as opposed to subcontractors. You've got to keep all of that running, and you're going to lose money. So, having manufacturers having their own product line, such that if there is a gap, and we're fortunate because there's always going to be relevant living projects ahead down the line that we're going to have pre-designed, ready to go, that if there are gaps in the production line, we can pull them into that gap and keep production going, and then we can stage them and store them. Also, being standardized in our approach, we know there's going to be a handful of the modules, the same modules we'll be doing time and time again. So we can run off some speculative modules too, maybe hold off on the paint or some of the finishes. But that's the importance of keeping things going, because that has been a big challenge for a lot of the manufacturers out there.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, being your own supply line, it's like anything else. It's going to have its own, downturn or downside as well as upsides to it. And I think you take on a lot more responsibility within the organization controlling your supply line, but that's the key. You control your supply line. And that's kind of what you're pointing out here. And not everybody's doing that. A lot of people are either outsourcing it, to other suppliers or other vendors, but you guys are looking to pull a lot of it in-house, at least the major portions. Is that what I'm hearing?
In terms of our supply line, we're always, we're going to have relevant living. As I said, we've got 1,350 units to build, which equates to over 2,000 modules. More projects we're looking at. We're in escrow on more projects right now, so we're really focused on really ramping this up in terms of the development side of things. But we've only just kind of reached out to a few, should we say, friends in the industry, in the development world, who are multifamily developers, and there's already a very strong interest. So, we haven't heavily marketed anything yet, but because we're, as I say, we want to get dialed in first. But we'll be ready kind of the end of 2022 or early 23 to start on third-party products, with obviously a proven track record at that point. But if there's any projects that are in early entitlement phases right now, obviously we can start talking to people.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, listen, man, I love it. So, I know we jumped around in the beginning and we were going to talk about relevant, living here near, kind of towards the end a little bit. But, for everybody that's joining us, we are live on YouTube and Facebook right now. We had some issues with LinkedIn. And there's a lot of people that I think came over from LinkedIn. So we want to thank you for coming over for LinkedIn. We're also going to reschedule this broadcast, Darren, for LinkedIn alone, just so we can get back to that audience as well, and get into it. So listen, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have just the need to hit that like button and share button and let everybody know that we're on live right now, please do so. We have some comments here that have been kind of coming in. So why don't we see who's out there? So we have the Housing Innovation Collaborative give you a thumbs up. Well, thank you very much. Love it. All right. Let's see. Dave Cooper live with LinkedIn feed being jumped. Sorry for that. Let's have Darren on BS. Keep it going. Enjoying the talk today. George Ryman, great idea. Well, I don't even know what George said, but we're going to find out. We will find out. Chris Chan, exciting times for modular. Thanks for sharing and moving the industry and the demand. Joel Hutchins came over from LinkedIn as well. Darren, do you know Joel? I think I connected you guys. Did I? If I didn't,
yeah, I did watch. His show from quarantine the other week. Yeah,
he says it looks like you need some help there, but Joel is somebody that I think you guys should talk to. I think it'd be a great thing for you guys. Yeah. All right. Well, Mark's covering your face. Our local municipalities and financing sector has a lot to learn from the construction industry. The folks that are into building science and going beyond code are the ones whom lead. The industry is still focused on passing code. This tip of the day is for them to catch up with U.S. Passive House. And oh, here we go. That's a plug right there. New Gravity Home Tour, August 5th and August 7th. Jude says hello. Hello, Jude. Thanks for hopping over from LinkedIn as well. And then Jennifer wrote, Research and Development Technology, BIM, RMOD offers modular solutions. So I love it. I love it. So Darren, tell me what's on your horizon. Let's talk a little bit about what your exact role is and why people are going to be reaching out to Darren Seary. Well,
I mean, it's a multifaceted role, really, especially right now. I mean, we're obviously building the teams, and we'll be having the formal structure that falls underneath that. But I'm although I'm not directly responsible for the build out of the facility. The providing input on that kind of thing, and just I'm a kind of a hands-on kind of guy too, in that terms of how things go together and efficiency and all the different products out there. So collaborating on that for sure. I'm going to be a big part of the pre-development side of things too. Obviously, I've come from the service industry, and that's going to be part of what I'm setting up. I've reviewed many supply agreements over the years, so we're going to be working to get that dialed in, payment terms, structuring. But for instance, this week my main drive is to continue the discussions with the lenders. We've spoken to some debt equity brokers on how we can structure for success, and not only for Relevant Living, but for our third-party developers too. There's some ways to do it. Again, we're not trying to be a closed book, but I've got to work through some of those discussions. But it is going to take a little bit of buy-in from the manufacturers. It's all about risk, and where is the risk? And there are a lot of lenders that are involved and are interested in financing modular, because it's a very good product for them. I mean, there is, if it's done right, there's the certainty. There's not the projects that drag out, and lenders like to get in and out somewhat quickly. So I'm working through those hurdles. But yes, how we can help as an industry is that we need to lenders understand that the modular manufacturer won't be willing to start production without some kind of money up front. Of course, there's so much cost there. But by the same token, right now, a lot of the modular manufacturers are, the lenders are trying to meet us halfway, I think, in some regards, and I think the industry can try and reach out, and there's some ways to do that with some various products. So let me still work through that, and maybe I'll come on again once we get that resolved, and hopefully deal with that issue.
Yeah. Well, I do think the finance world's coming around, quite a bit. And this is one of the things why we were talking a few months back as well, about some of the seminars that were getting ready to take place to help educate banks and help educate people with the finance, because the value to the banks is so much more significant than most of them see on the surface, because of the payment structure, because their money's a lot more secure. There's just so many reasons why more lenders should be in the offsite construction world, so particularly volumetric modular.
Yeah, it's about collateral. I mean, obviously, conventional construction projects, with every draw payment that a lender makes on a conventional project, you're building collateral with the offsite. The products stay personal property offsite. So, but they are utilizing UCC one filing to be able to, perfect the loan, perfect the lien.
Yeah.
So that there's recoverable assets and things. So they're getting creative. There's also lenders who will lend on the product once it arrives either on site or at the staging area, providing it's purely stored and insured and secured. But sometimes that might mean a temporary bridge loan to get for the developer's got to get in the interim. But I'm also hearing from lenders that are now, and it's all relationship driven most of the time. And again, the case studies, the golden ticket, it plays into that too. But they are starting to get that a little bit more comfortable with funding the project's stage payments during production.
Yeah, for sure. So how big's your team right now?
Good question. Because we have a lot of people. Yeah. And the strange thing is I kind of, my time is spent between my home office here in Orange County and our office in Hollywood, but of course hardly any people are in the office because of COVID. So right. I don't think in the 2 months I've met everyone yet. So, but we also got people overseas as well. It's a good question. I don't know exact answer to that, but the reality is, in terms of RMOD, we're ramping up the team. We're starting that process now with our GM and following down from there for the plant itself. So that's we're building that team right now.
So let's, I think a question that might garner a lot of other questions as well is, how are with the trade labor issues? You have your own projects. Are you educating your current general contractors or current trades that are out in the field, or are you finding trades that are already knowledgeable about offsite modular? Because that's got to be a hurdle for you guys as well.
Well, it is, yeah, and COVID hasn't helped because you quite rightly mentioned earlier, there has been a lot of traction on events for lenders and for the contracting industry, and I know that when I was at Fulcrum, we were planning on a big event to try and get everyone together, but obviously didn't happen for obvious reasons. But yeah, we are going to we're going to take that on. I mean, we're going to have with our new prototype buildings that we're going to be bringing up later this year to Hollywood. We're going to be having people come through that. We may very well, with some of the hospitality space that we're building out right now, we may very well have some events targeted to some subs and some general contractors. And again, let's not sit back and hope things will get resolved. We'll take them on and start that ourselves and really start educating and because that's a really important part. You're right. It's the on-site scope is still a little confusing, but we are working. The encouraging thing is for the industry, and this is what's really exciting, a good indicator that this is where it's going, is that I've been fortunate in the last 2 months to work with a lot of general contractors who are interested in working with us, to integrate in with us, and these are the big players. Big contractors, so they know this is the future, and that's encouraging for the industry.
Yeah, very, very much so, and that is encouraging. I'm wishing you guys a whole lot of success in all of this, because I think one, your timing's right. Mm-hmm. Regardless of COVID and what it is, it's actually in some aspects, speeding up the look at offsite because of, like you said, so many people have left the industry or out of work. It's just another reason to try and use manufacturing as a way to bring things into the future. So, well, this is awesome. The fact that you guys have computer screens at each section of your line is just making me smile ear to ear, because you're the first one to say that on the show publicly to me. And I'm glad to hear that, because that means we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, paper is out of date when it's printed, right? That's what they say.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
No,
sure.
I mean, that's the best. I mean, that's why it is exciting, the industry right now. And you know, I tune into your show whenever I can and see the various products out there. There's a lot of good software and products. You know, we're exploring all of them for our assembly. I mean, you know, even down to things like, you know, plumbing, push fittings, and things like that. I mean, in Europe, they've been using a lot of them, you know, we've explored that, and that's part of what we're going to be exploring with these 6 modules we're building out right now, looking at all these different products. And you know, ensuring we get the quality, of course. You know, there's a quality control review aspect of what we do, but the speed side of it. So speed under in a controlled environment is very important. We don't want to trip over ourselves.
Well, no, I mean, that's the whole idea of offsite, is for that speed and precision and really getting it right, you know, on the first go round, not on the third go round after the 5th change order, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, that's one of the major advantages, as you know, modular construction, that cost certainty. You know, some of the projects that we are looking at, because we don't have to go subterranean, and we don't have to build in that parking. You know, we can just do one level of concrete podium at grade. You know, some of our module costs are over 60% of the hard costs. So that's a lot of you know, cost that is going to be off-site. And then if you add to that, so you know, I'm hearing, and I'm going to learn a little bit more about it, but there is some advances in the pre-assembly, sub-assembly for on-site connections. So we're seeing some of that in the plumbing side of things. So I'm going to learn a little bit more about that and how we can address that side of things. But whether we're obviously, our interests are to, you know, for relevant living, to be successful as a developer, but what's going to work for us and be successful for us is going to work for our third-party clients too. So it's very important whether we had relevant living or not. The dealing with the lender side of things, or some of those other challenges, or the on-site scopes, we feel that is our responsibility to help resolve anyway for our clients, because there are some of the stumbling blocks. And you know, even down to what happens on site, you know, one of the challenges is that, you know, you probably hear is the drying in of the building from the last module set to getting the roofing on. Where, you know, our R&D development team on the architecture side is definitely focused in on that. So we're looking at the roof cassettes scenarios, so that we can have a cassette. When I say cassette, we're not inserting anything, we'll just sit on top, but it'll be the same size as our modules, and they will be, you know, they'll be, you know, 12 inches high, you know, enough of a start of a parapet wall, and it'll have the rigid insulation, it will have the TPO membrane on it, and that will just sit on top. And then we just deal with the seams and connecting up to the temporary roof drains. And then from there on, we're also going to add the panelized approach to the prefabricated panelized approach to the parapet walls as well, because they can come and just bolt on top. So we're thinking through all of those aspects as well.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. That's why you're going off-site. Listen, we can send people all the way into space. They can link up in some satellite, you know, floating around with a bunch of Russian folks, and then they can land. Then they can come back, and it can parachute and land back in the ocean with a boat within 100 yards of it waiting for them. This isn't rocket science, you know. It just takes some thought.
It does, yeah. And I think that generally, I mean, unfortunately, bad news travels fast. That's human nature. There's always doubters in the industry, and you know, we as an industry need to counteract that with the success stories, as I talked about earlier. But I will tell you that many of the times, the challenges that we've seen on modular projects have not been a result of the modular manufacturing process. The modules have been fine.
Right.
It's some of the coordination. It's not having enough people on the team that are modular knowledgeable. It's the not gaining information from other projects, making the same mistakes. It's indecision. As we know, the good thing and bad thing about modular is that you're going to have less change orders on the modular side because you're going to make decisions up front and lock it in. So there's even on site, there's been indecision and some challenges and waterproofing challenges and everything else. So if we can, what we're approaching it at is a full turnkey solution. With developers, we're going to help our clients through the pre-development stages all the way through. We are going to take on the transportation under our scope. Temporary staging is going to be part of us. And then the transportation to the site and the set. We're not going to self-perform it. We're going to be utilizing the folks like ProSet, the experts in the industry, to set these modules. But we're doing all of that as a full turnkey, as opposed to the more fragmented approach of multiple contracts with the owners. And we're going to own it. We're going to take responsibility for the project.
Yeah, love it. All right, look, so we got some comments flying in here. Great opportunity to design for process efficiency and multifamily delivery. Love it. Thanks, Anthony. Joel Hutchins, it is great to hear you talking about subcomponents and assembly lines between yourself and Brent Musson. The future is bright. I love it.
Right, I'm going to have Brent's my next call. That's my next thing on my list this week.
Yeah, Brent.
Yeah.
Joel, let us know how you're doing there in quarantine. So, do you know how they treat them when they go to Australia for quarantine?
I heard him. Yeah, locked in with military and everything.
Outside the door. You get more freedom in prison.
That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. Andrew Seely, thanks so much for joining us. Agreed with Joel on that one. And Chris John, compared to traditional build, do you find more clients or investors asking for higher energy efficient and comfort products when they consider modular? Do they care more about the build quality and cheaper operational cost is the question.
I care about all of it, all of the above.
That's very true.
Well, I mean, developers want everything, and there's nothing wrong with that because it can deliver on all points. I mean, again, I'm not going to change my tune just because I'm working on the modular side, the manufacturing side. It's the same message I've had, with on the consulting side too. You can realistically achieve time, quality, and cost, the 3 points on the construction triangle with modular construction, if it's managed and planned correctly. And energy efficiency is part of that. Quality has never been a challenge with modular. Really, the quality is there for everyone to see, and especially the end product being so, because you've got extra wall, double the wall, double the ceilings, the sound attenuation. I'm sure the energy efficiency and the like are so much better. So the quality is always there. The timing clearly is there if it's well coordinated, and the costs will continue to come down with the on-site scope becoming a little, once we get that dialed in a little better.
Yeah, for sure. And and the more efficient we become at off-site construction, the better the costing is going to become. Like you said, the more you control your own supply. There's just so many different factors you can control when you're dealing with yourself versus somebody else and outsourcing, even the work side of this. So I absolutely love it. So just so everybody's clear, your manufacturing is going to be steel builds, not wood.
Correct. Steel volumetric. Yep.
Steel volumetric. And right now you'll be doing stuff with the Relevant Group or Relevant Living. Is that the right way to say it? Or is it Relevant Group and Relevant Living?
Well, Relevant Group is the parent company.
Yep,
Relevant Living is the multifamily arm. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And so when do you guys expect to see your projects start hitting like this last project we just showed? When do you expect that to break ground and start going up?
Las Palmas would be next year. So,
okay.
Early, mid next year. So latter parts of Q2 likely on that. So, and then some of the other permanent supportive housing will be following on behind that. So yeah, we're ready to go. So we're just going to again get the facility up and running. in a controlled way, so that we're not rushing into anything, and then get it dialed in and off we go.
I love it. I love it. So when you do these model units that you guys were talking about, I'm hoping we're going to talk. I'd love to come out there and live stream these to everybody. Hopefully we won't be having this LinkedIn glitch. I'm not sure what in the day. Can you, out of 8,000 minutes of streaming since COVID, I've had 2 times where it didn't connect, but it always reconnected the second time. This is the first time that it wouldn't connect at all. So I don't know. Maybe a lot of people are online today, or, you know, can only control what we can control. So here's what I'm proposing, Darren. We're gonna set up another show within the next week and a half, 2 weeks max, let's just say. Okay. And we're gonna redo some of this on LinkedIn. To make sure that we hit everybody. There's a ton of people. I don't know if you can see what I see, but it shows me the number of eyes on it. So I'm assuming there's a ton of people that came over from LinkedIn to make sure they got to listen to what you say. But we definitely want to give the viewers what we said we were going to give them. So we'll figure out what the glitches are there and come back. But outside of that, really appreciate you taking the time. It's hard to believe, but it's been an hour.
Time flies, right?
The time flies. And you didn't even pick on me for getting your name wrong.
Oh no, I'll let you off that one. Maybe I should tell the story about the time when, you know, Dave.
Well, we got to go now. I mean, that's been an hour. No, we can tell. We'll save that for the next one. But man, I couldn't get it right for the life of me. That was funny. So, what do we have, Jen? Oh, we had one last shout out here. Andrew Seely. Oh, he agreed with Joel Hutchins. Let me put Got it. Did I miss you, Andrew? Thank you for coming over from LinkedIn. I know most of all these people are on the LinkedIn side, so they came over, and anybody else there, we're going to redo this. And Darren, I'll let you bust me up. You could tell I was flustered, couldn't get it to go live. I'm like, what is going on? But hey, that's the world we live in, right?
Well, it is, and it's how you handle it, right? You've got to deal with challenges, and we know that that's going to be part of our DNA moving forward. Challenges.
For sure. Well, good thing we're on 3 locations, right? So.
I'm sorry.
I said, well, good thing we're on 3 places.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got 2 out of the 3 nailed down. All right, Darren. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to having you back on. We're going to set up another one of these. We're going to dive a little bit deeper. We'll cover all the same topics that we covered. And I know there's a lot of people itching out there to talk to you and ask some more questions. And I really want to dive into that.
Yeah, and I'll bring some more R&D, another 2 weeks worth of R&D. Try and see if we can give you a little bit more information.
Perfect. Love it. And maybe we can get some pictures of that manufacturing plant that you're building down there. I'd love to see those computer screens.
Yeah, we've got all 3D modeled. You can walk through the whole facility. It's pretty cool. So I got a fly through over the weekend progress, but that's just a shell. So, but yeah, we'll see if we can get something together for you.
Yeah, well, perfect. I don't know if we just had somebody else time. You know, James Rogers from used to be the director of business development, or maybe he'll correct me on that, but it's somewhere for Katera. So he now moved on to do something spectacular, which we're waiting to talk about. James, I got my eye on you. I'm waiting to hear from you, man. I hope all is well. And Anthony said great turnout today. It was a great turnout. So, all right. So more R&D from you.
Yep.
Maybe some photos of the manufacturing plant, because we're going to add more value to this next one and really do it. And we're going to plan this all within the next 2 weeks. And we're going to see if we can work out these kinks we had with LinkedIn. And we're going to have a lot of fun with this. Maybe we can even do some live virtual something somehow. We'll figure it out. All
right. That sounds fun.
All right, buddy. Hey, listen, Darren, you just hold tight right there. And everybody else, thank you for tuning in. DaveCooper.live. Thanks for putting up with our glitches today. We will see you tomorrow on Building Modular with Jennifer, and we're going to have Westchester Modular Homes set people with us. We're going to talk all about setting modules tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk with the MEP guys. Tune in for that one. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. Bye now. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks.